This is a Geek Leader podcast, and I'm your host, John Rauda. This show is all about helping us grow as leaders, become better technologists, and improve our lives both at work and at home. I hope you enjoy the show and learn a lot. Hello, world, and welcome to a Geek Leader podcast. I'm your host, John Rauda. Today's sponsor is A2 Hosting. I've been using A2 Hosting solid state hosting solutions for our website at geekleader.com for many years now, and absolutely love their support, their service, and all the features that you get. You get access to cPanel. You get all of the things that you can imagine for a great WordPress experience, including their A2 optimized WordPress, which does extra security checks, extra lockdown. You can lock down your editor file so you can't edit anything inside there. You get alerts whenever there are file changes that are done. You can also do automatic updates, backups, and more with A2 Hosting. So highly recommend it. Go to geekleader.com/A2 to get more information and to sign up for their solid state turbocharged speed hosting today. Again, that's at geekleader.com/A2.
All right, Geek Leaders. Today I'm honored to have Ari from Chykalophia on the show. And we're going to talk a little bit about that name, where it came from. We're also going to talk a little bit about her background, how she got into doing what she's doing. And with all that being said, Ari, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me here today, John. I'm excited to chat.
If you don't mind, just tell the audience a little bit about your background and kind of how you got where you are today, and what is it that you guys do at Chykalophia?
Oh, man. This takes me back a long time now, right? Maybe about 13, 14, 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. I started off as a graphic designer. So that was my official, first job, first role right out of college. And it was something that I have dreamed about, right? I have been wanting to be a graphic designer. And then there I was, learning all the things about graphic design. I kind of enjoyed it until my husband, he's, of course, would ask me this question. And mind you, he is Polish American. So he kind of like this forward thinking person asking me, a third world country girl from Indonesia, hey, Ari, how much do you actually get paid? I know you really enjoy and love your work, but I'm just curious how much you get paid. So I answered to him like it was $250 per month. Hey, in Indonesia, that's all right? Especially like 15 years ago. And to him, it was like, you mean you add another zero at the end? And I told him no. And immediately he opened the laptop and type in, freelance graphic design gig. All of the different websites for, Upwork, freelance.com, all those different things. He showed me this opportunity about, being able to work remotely, work on any design project that I truly wanted. And I was like, whoa, this is cool. And I got super fascinated by it. And I ended up just telling my boss, like, I'm going to quit in 2 weeks because I'm going to become my own boss. Like, I know that's kind of like very naive of me back then, but hey, I was young, right? I was 20 years old trying to just figure out what is my career going to look like if I jump into this freelance world. So that was the beginning. And I saw my dream role around website design, user experience design, user interface design, all of those digital design kind of route just really got me excited. So I learned a lot more on those and got my, first couple of clients just around digital design. And from there, everything just, how do I explain this? Everything just fall into pieces. Mainly because I was trying to figure out how do I manage client? How do I, create that communication? How do I actually handle the workload? I didn't get any of these different information from school, so I was learning everything by doing. My husband on the side, he was doing all things freelancing about, website development. So we're kind of like this nice duo doing design and all things web and development, but we were doing our own thing. Until we got married here in Chicago in 2011, he proposed to me and say, hey, Ari, would you want to build a business with me? We can combine both our skills, it's going to be a great complementary skills for our clients. And I'm like, why not? What could go wrong, right? A lot of things could go wrong. And that was the official beginning, John. That was the beginning of us creating this new studio for design and development for all things on the web. We have evolved so much, though, in the past 12 years in building the business. It was not easy. Our first couple of years, I'm going to be honest with you, was a hot mess. But I'm going to stop there for now and let you maybe ask any other question.
Yeah. So when you guys decided to start this business, and what kind of challenges did you guys face up front? Being maybe new to the Chicago area, new to the United States, and getting funding or getting created or getting the right kind of clientele behind you to actually move forward with doing design and development.
There's a lot of questions in there. I'm going to try to unpack one by one. The first challenge that we had was really to get our name out there, right? You got to go find clients. You got to go find leads. You got to talk to people. And every single time we go out there at events, people keep telling us, like, you guys are new business. You got to network. That's what you guys need to focus in your first couple of years. We're being young and dumb and also just like so naive, like, yeah, we'll figure it out. I wish we really take that, seriously and also define what marketing would look like for us, because we were just like, yeah, a client will come. It's like, we have a couple of different clients on the list. We'll figure things out. But really the challenge here is that if you have a new business, your number one goal is to really get your name out there, to market yourself and build up that network. Otherwise, there won't be any client coming to you, right? That's the big challenge that I had. And also, I didn't really know, like, what do I not know? I don't know what I don't know, right? So I needed somebody to tell me, like, here I am in this journey building a new business. What do I need to know? What am I missing? What's next for me? I was lucky to, go ahead.
I was going to say, well, who was it that helped you figure that out? Like, who was it to tell you what you didn't know? Because a lot of times, when we're, I go back to tech problems. When we're struggling with something, we can go to Google and I'll go to ChatGPT and figure that out. But for you, who was it that helped you realize what you don't know?
It was my mentor. So I was very lucky to have a supportive community here in Chicago and area. What are you, John? Are you in the States, right?
Yeah, I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay. Have you been to Chicago before?
I have. It's cold and windy.
Beyond that, though, the community here for entrepreneur, for the tech community, it's very tight-knit, and everybody have this great sense of humility and support, which I'm lucky to be part of, because when I told the class that I was in for Business 101, right? I told them that, hey, I'm building a new business. It's all about design and development. I'm looking for help. Quickly, a few days after that, someone tell me, like, hey, I want to meet this lady who also owned a creative business, and she would like to be a mentor. I was like, that is amazing. I couldn't even ask for it because I would still feel intimidated, right? I'm this fresh, new person coming to Chicago and just build a business. I don't have a network really. And for someone to really just do an outreach to you without even asking and willing to mentor you, that was a blessing for me. So that was the start for me to really figure out things that I needed to put in place, events that I need to go to, connection that I need to make. Everything started from this mentorship.
Yeah, I think mentors are extremely important. That's what helped me, kind of grow my journey through leadership, was having a good mentor that, would give you the hard truths, the things that you probably didn't want to hear, but you needed to hear, and to help point you in the right direction when you didn't even know what questions to ask. And I think that's really important. How would you recommend maybe anybody in tech, maybe a young female or a minority in tech that's interested in getting a mentor? How do they go about finding that person? I mean, you seem to get lucky to have someone kind of come to you, but not everybody's that lucky.
You're right. Not everybody is that lucky. And I think sometimes when it comes to mentorship, different people have different ideas of what mentorship will look like, right? The thing is about mentorship, it doesn't have to be just about a one-on-one mentorship relationship, right? You could also find, podcasts like this. That is considered mentorship.
Yep.
Or a book, or, YouTube videos, or maybe some TikTok videos, who knows? But if you really want someone to have, a way to talk to, right? Someone to build a relationship with as well, I would look for different mentoring programs out there. It's a little bit challenging if you want to go ahead and find someone that you maybe admire and then ask them to become your mentor, because chances are they probably have a lot on your plate, right? And they probably don't have the time to dedicate to mentor you.
Right.
So go find these different programmings around mentorship. Some of them are paid, some of them are free. I would look into, maybe in your area in Google, mentorship program in X area, right? Or maybe in a specific industry.
Mm-hmm.
There gotta be some of the programs out there, and, start your research from there.
Yeah, I agree. I think, I always hate to pay for something that I can get for free, but one thing that comes out with when it comes to paying for a mentor, and one of the advantages for that is that you have skin in the game. Like I know for me, I can go get, I can watch videos for free on YouTube on how to do certain skills and certain things and learn something, but I'm not motivated to go do that because I don't have any skin in the game. But if I pay for a video, like a training course or something like that, I am more motivated and more likely to actually complete it and go through with it because I put some effort into it up front. And I think that's where paid mentorships are extremely important, because you'll put forth the effort of seeing value in it, listening to the advice, asking the questions, being more transparent and open if you actually put a little bit of financial incentive into going through that. At least that's my take on it.
One thing that I would add to that, you also get the accountability, right? You also get the perspective from somebody else. Sometimes it might be because you're so close to your goal, you're so close to whatever you're working on, and you don't see the gap. When somebody else come in and see it from the outside, they're able to really identify, oh, here are some of the things that you're missing. Have you thought about this? Have you done this? Right? So I think that is the full experience that you get when you have this, program, or even paying for a program or paying for a mentorship.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think sometimes having that accountability, like you're talking about, is so important. And I know for me, I can think back, gosh, it's been 15 years ago when I ran my first marathon. It was one of those things where like I wanted to do it, but until I publicly said that I'm going to do this thing, like put it on Facebook and Twitter and told my friends that I'm doing this on this date, I didn't have that accountability until that point. But once I made it public, now I have this accountability and I have to do it. And honestly, that's where I started this podcast, right?
Yeah.
I guess it's been 7 years ago now. I was managing a small team, and I wanted to make sure that anything that I talked about to my team, I had some way to be held accountable. So I thought, well, I'll just talk about it on the podcast too. And then that way it's publicly out there for the world to see. And it's like the world is now holding me accountable for this. So I think accountability is extremely important.
Completely agree.
So tell me a little bit about the name. Let me try this again. I'll let you do it.
Chykalophia. You got it right the first time.
Chykalophia. I did. I don't know why I forgot it this time. Chykalophia. So where did that come from, and what does that mean?
Okay. It doesn't have any meaning. I'm just going to be straight. It's completely a made-up name. I was challenging myself to, literally just like challenging to do something when I was in high school. And one of the things that I wanted to challenge myself is that if anybody else could create like a meaningful name or a brand name, or even like, scientists can always come up with new things and they have the rights to name things, right? And I was sitting at a biology class thinking, okay, I can do that too. It was that mentality that I didn't realize had established right then, of me just like wanting to, go towards something, go towards building something that I can be proud of. So Chykalophia was born just from me doodling it. And then I start, leveraging the name, using the name for a t-shirt, my backpack, and then into my, profile for my, freelance business and all of my portfolio and everything. So people start knowing me by that name. By the time my husband asked me to build company, he's wondering, should we use the name? Might as well. People already know me by that name. So it had the brand equity already built in, and it just stuck with us. So yeah, there is no name meaning behind it, but that was the story.
Oh, nice. And what kind of challenges did you and your husband have starting this business in Chicago, especially like being a minority and being from a different country and being a female, what kind of challenges did you have, and what advice would you have to other people that are interested in starting their own businesses, maybe venturing out? Maybe I'm tired of being a developer, I want to start my own app business or something like that. What advice would you have for someone in those same shoes?
I have a couple. So the first one, if you decided to build a business with your spouse, right? Think about it. Think about whether or not you can actually, handle the boundaries and the separation in terms of like role and relationship, right? Because when you work with your spouse, it can get complicated because you can see them as your spouse versus seeing them as your equal partner or even like professional, building up that professional relationship, right? For us, it was really hard in the first couple of years because we were mixing everything together. I was seeing him as my spouse and I was telling him what to do. I was telling him how to code. He was telling me how to design. It was a hot mess until, our mentor basically says, you guys need to separate things out and, build up that boundaries to see each other as partners versus, a specific time to see each other as, spouses, right?
Yeah.
Well, what can that look like? So we have different spaces. I have my own office. He has his own office, right? And then we don't talk about work after 5 p.m. So I think having some set boundaries is very helpful. And then the other thing too, as a minority, as a woman, and especially as someone who came from a third world country into Chicago, building the business, trying to network like crazy and get to know people, it was really challenging mainly because I had this, fixed mindset that I wasn't good enough, right? I see, people, Western people, that's how we call it in Indonesia. We see them as a superior being. So when I'm in a room going to networking events and not seeing other people who look like me, it made me think whether or not I should be in that space, whether or not I'm worthy to be in the event, connecting with these people. But over time, a lot of people have helped me, figure out this mindset should not exist anymore, especially as I'm growing the company, as I become, the leader of my own team. I start seeing things differently because it feels like everything's so collaborative here in Chicago and people really want to help you. So when I start seeing the support, I felt like, yes, I have something to give. A lot of time we don't realize that we have so much to give, right? We have our knowledge, we have our expertise, we have our willingness to also support one another. So once I realized that I have value and I feel like I am worth it, I have the, capacity to also create meaning for other people and also help, make their lives better. That's when that mindset slowly going away. So that was really hard in the beginning, but now whenever I, meet people, it's just like you're just opening yourself to see how you can help other. I think when you don't expect something, the conversation flows much smoother and you're building up and cultivating this network of people who also will be willing to support you, down the road.
Yeah, I think you said several things there that are really important. I want to hit on a bunch of them. One of the first things you mentioned is boundaries, working with your spouse and having boundaries. And, when I thought about boundaries a long time ago, I always thought boundaries were kind of like rules and things you put in place that are negative, but now that, I'm a parent and I set boundaries for my kids, I realize that boundaries give you freedom because they give you a place to operate in a free way with protections and things in place. And like, with your spouse, you can set boundaries like, we're not going to talk about work after 7:00 or whatever, and set these rules in place that will give you freedom to have both a work life and a home life and things like that. So I think boundaries are really important. So I don't want to miss on that one. But also you talked a little bit about people wanting to see each other succeed. And when I first started like speaking at conferences, I was really, really nervous and super like terrified of getting up on stage. And then I realized that everybody that's there, and actually my mentor taught me this, but everybody that's there to listen to you talk want to see you succeed as well. No one wants to see you fail because nothing's worse than being in front of a bad speaker, right? Being kind of stuck there. So when you realize that the world isn't out to get you, they're not against you. They're all there to see if you can be successful and see if they can help you. That's kind of the value. that you can get from the fact, like you said in Chicago, where there's this, everybody wanted to see you succeed. And I think that's almost universally there,
Completely agree with you. And I wanted to add one thing around the boundaries that you mentioned earlier. It also helps you focus, right? When you have that boundary set, it really just helps you focus in the right direction. But yeah, I agree with everything because I'm also a mom. And as soon as I realized oh, I have to figure things out, right? I have to figure out my schedule, setting boundaries and land on things. It changed you.
Yeah, it does. Absolutely. So when you talk about, getting that community around you to help you out, as an entrepreneur, do you find that there's a lot of other entrepreneurs that are starting out kind of in that same place that are looking for people to help you? And where do you find that community? Like, do you go to like meetups, or how do you meet people that are in the same place as you?
Yeah. My secret weapon, there are a couple of tools. Number one, Eventbrite. Number two, Meetup. Number three, LinkedIn, right?
Yes.
Once you go down that route, you will find so many different types of events. Now, how do you know which one's going to be a good event, right? Do your research. Definitely do your research. The way I, research for different events that I maybe have never heard of before, I would definitely check how many events they have hosted. Now things are coming, out of pandemic. You might not see a lot of, history of the past event that they have created, but prior to that, are they active, right? Are they actually pushing events regularly? And also check out their LinkedIn. Are they posting about these events on LinkedIn? Are they getting engagement on LinkedIn, right? Mm-hmm. If it's only one of those type of events that you feel like, oh, it's a brand new event, and typically if you sign up for Meetup, there are constantly new Meetup created every single day. So I think that part is for you to explore and experiment on. If there are specific topics that you really like and you feel that the new Meetup that you found out could potentially be good for you, might as well check it out, right? Check it out once and then see who is going to be coming or who is going to be in that room with you. Are they the type of people that you want to be added to your network? Maybe these are the type of people who are related towards your target audience. If yes, you can figure out whether or not you want to come back. Otherwise, I would also, check out other people's LinkedIn, right? Some people that maybe you admire. Maybe you have somebody that you look up in your particular industry. If they host events, definitely go to their events, right? Yeah. Tell them like you are, following them on LinkedIn. Their content has been amazing for you and you found them really useful. They will be able to connect you with other people in that event, especially if it's their event or they're speaking at those events. Chances are they know people in that event. So that's a good way and strategy to just kind of expand your network a little bit.
Yeah, and I agree with that 100%. Another opportunity that's very similar to that is to look at conferences. Like if you're, again, to go back to that scenario, if you're a developer and you want to start your own app business or doing contracting work for someone else or something like that, go to a dev conference and maybe even offer to speak at it. Because if you speak at the conferences, they're usually free. If you can speak at them, so come up with a good topic, speak at it, and maybe plug your business in your slides somewhere. So you get
I love that
networking there. So.
Yes, definitely. And speaking of conferences, I feel like this year everything is coming back. So yes. You have a lot of opportunities to be more out there, to be building up your network, connecting with people, right? This is your chance. So make sure you're going out there. Now, some of you might feel like, I don't want to go to events. I just want to stay indoors and doing Zoom. That is fine. My husband is that way, right? And that's why I'm mainly out doing events. But once in a while, perhaps just challenge yourself. Perhaps it could be good, not just for you, but also for the business.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think you're definitely seeing a shift in in-person events and people focusing on things that there was a conference that I spoke at during the pandemic. It was all remote conference, and now they're doing no remote sessions. It's all in person, and encouraging everybody to come back. So I see a lot of that shift back to in-person events and trying to build their network that way. So I think it's really important. And also, when you're at a conference, one of the suggestions that I've said this on the show probably a dozen times, but I'll keep saying it, is focus on the track in between the tracks, like the areas when they set out cookies or drinks or something like that. One of the things that I always do whenever I go to a conference is I try to find one new person to talk to every single day. Somebody new that I don't know, to introduce myself. I'll walk over to where people are like standing around, having a bagel or whatever, and just introduce myself and start talking. Or if they're serving lunch, I'll go sit with people I don't know just to start a conversation and try to, and even being a little bit introverted like I am, it's terrifying to do that. But I always realize that nothing bad happens. No one's ever like got up and walked away and left me there. And even if they did, that's the worst that'll happen. It's not that bad.
Oh my gosh. I love that. I love all that tips. One of the other things that I would also share is that people can get awkward, right?
Yeah.
If it's awkward, just say it. It makes it less awkward when you say it. So that's definitely one tip. And then the other tip too, you don't have to meet as many people as you think you need to, right? It's all about the quality. If you find one or two people that you feel you had a great conversation with, that's a win. You don't have to, talk to 10 or 20 different people. It's not about the quantity.
Yep, absolutely. It's about the quality. Another thing, going back to that conference thing, is that I always try to do is not to have back-to-back sessions where I'm full my day of picking the best sessions that I can sit and learn.
Oh, no.
I try to do like one every other session, and then in between I walk around and try to talk to the vendors that are there and try to talk to other people to build those connections and those relationships, because you never know where an opportunity is going to come from. So the more chances you give that opportunity to open up, the better chance that you'll run into something that's great.
Yeah.
So what are some things that you guys are looking to do with your business now? Like, what's the next step that you see?
Oh, that's a good question. We launched our book in October last year. So that was one of the big tasks that we had. It had been on our to-do list for a couple of years. And when we finally did it, it was like, yay, it's finally out. Excited. But nobody really tell you that writing the book is only 20% of the process, right? Everything else comes after, which is marketing, getting it more out there, getting it to the hands of people. So we're in the process of really getting our book in the hands of more people, be it, sponsoring it for different conferences or events, or even get people to purchase it directly on Amazon. So that's one big part that we're doing. But also, to be honest with you, being more in our community. We have very specific target audience, which is primarily into women-led brands, those who are in B2B or even femtech or female health and wellness technology. So I want to be in front of these people, right? I want to build up our credibility as well. Now that we're finally in-person events again, I think, the magic that I have seen countless times over and over again when I'm showing up at events, building up that network, that's how people get to know us. That's how people trust us, and that's how the lead come to our business.
Mm-hmm. So your book is Made to Sell. Can you talk a little bit about it, and where can people find a copy of it?
Yeah, sure thing. So Made to Sell, Creating Websites That Convert is a book about strategy, about planning, right? A lot of time client would come to us like, hey, you guys, I have this website, not exactly know what to do with it. I need your guidance. So the book really help you plan what is it that you want to do with your website, because your website should not be just a mere checklist, right? You have your business name, you have everything else, and now you have a website. Great, but what do you want to do with your website? So really taking you through in terms of the strategy of it. Who are the team members that you need to have if you were to execute a web project? How can you make it a success? What pieces do you need? Ranging from translating your brand into digital experiences, all the technology stacks that you might need to consider. All of them is in there. So it's a blend of strategy and design and development information around building up a website that can truly give you a conversion back.
Yeah, awesome. And I'll link that up in the show notes too, because I know a lot of us tech folks, we can build a website, but we have no idea how to get it out in front of people and how to get people to convert on it. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
So tell the audience a little bit about how they can connect with you, learn more about what you're doing, and maybe even seek help or mentorship from you in the future.
Yeah. Well, if you're on LinkedIn, I am pretty active there. So feel free to add me on LinkedIn, or you can also check out my website at chykalophia.com, or the short one, cklph.com.
Awesome. And I'll link those up in the show notes too at geekleader.com. Ari, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
If you enjoyed that episode, please leave a rating and review in Apple Podcasts. I'd greatly appreciate that. And also, don't forget to check out merch. We have some T-shirts that I've designed that are on at geekleader.com. You can click on the merchandise section there and check that out. And also, don't forget about the books from our guests. So if you like this guest and other guests that have written books, please go ahead and check that out at geekleader.com. I would greatly appreciate it, and I'm sure they would too.